What you must remember is that the prevailing winds that blow across this island come from the west. So if you live on the west side, you don't get everybody else's smells. So the poorer part of London was traditionally the east side. So anyway, when they started moving here, when London was expanding, they wanted shops where they could buy things, obviously. And so on the right, you've still got Berry Brothers, the wine merchants. They've been selling wine there since the 1600s from that same shop. And that arch there where it says number 3, that's where Texas did have an embassy when it was independent of the US and Mexico. On the right, Lock & Co, the hat shops, they've been selling hats from that shop since the 1670s. And then in a moment, on the other side of this bus, you'll see what's called Lob. And they're always known as the Queen's Shoemaker. Can you see the building over there? Now, if you have a pair of shoes made at Lob, you're talking about £2,000, handmade shoes. So what they do, because your feet don't change, I've been told over you know, they say the same, you put on weight, your feet don't put on weight. So they make a pattern of your feet. And all the patterns of the previous clients are hanging up on hooks in that building. And you've got the Duke of Wellington's pattern. Admiral Lord Nelson used to go there and have his... So all the patterns are hanging up on hooks around the shop. Now also, if you're in this area, I mean, I like architecture. Down this road on the right, this square, St James's Square, and there are some amazing houses that were built in the 1700s. And it's where a lady called Nancy Astor lived. Now, she came from Virginia in the United States, and she did quite well. She married Lord Astor. You know, the Astors are hugely rich. Well, Lord Astor was a member of Parliament, and then his father died and he became the Lord, so he couldn't sit in the House of Commons, so he gave up his seat, and Nancy Astor was able to stand because in 1919 the law was changed and women were given the vote. So she stood, and she became the first woman to be elected a member of Parliament and take a seat in the House of Commons.
And she was an American.
Really interesting woman, but she didn't like Winston Churchill. You know, Winston Churchill, you've heard of him, they were always arguing. There's this lovely story that one day she lost her temper with Winston Churchill, and she shouted at him in front of everybody in the House of Commons, "Winston, if you were my husband, I'd put poison in your coffee." They replied, "Madam, if I was your husband, I would certainly drink it." If you like that one, she's teetotal. She never ever drank alcohol, ever. She was a Scientologist. Isn't Tom Cruise? He's a Scientologist. Well, anyway, she didn't ever drink. But Winston Churchill, every single day, used to drink a bottle of champagne at lunchtime, and then have brandy and port. So he used to be a bit high when he stood up sometimes to make a speech in the House of Commons. Now, one day Nancy Astor saw this and thought, right, I'll get my own back. So she shouted at Winston Churchill, "Winston, you're drunk." He replied, "Madam, you're ugly. But tomorrow morning, I shall at least wake up sober."
Oh, that's awesome.
Ouch. See that building there on the left? It's called Brooks Club. It's one of those stuffy old clubs. Now that dates back to the 1700s. And all of these clubs around here, the men used to gamble. They used to gamble their entire fortunes on the turn of a card. Absolutely crazy. Well, one day there were 4 men in that club playing cards, and one of them had lost virtually everything that he'd inherited. And then his luck started to change. He started to win things back. And then the waiter came in and said, "Dinner is served." And this guy said, "Nope, we're not going into dinner because my luck's changed. Bring us our meat between slices of bread." And seriously, it was the Earl of Sandwich. So after that, he used to go around Clubland. People used to say to each other, "Are we doing a sandwich tonight?" Meaning, are we going to carry on playing cards, not going to dinner? And that's where that phrase, sandwiches, comes from. You're looking at me as if you don't believe a word of these. Do you know, sitting playing cards with the Earl of Sandwich that night was the Earl of Portsmouth. Can you imagine if he had have said it?
Portsmouth.
Having a hat, Portsmouth. Anyway, look at the Jermyn Street down there. Can you see that road on the right? It's famous in London for gentlemen's clothes, shirts, shoes, things like that. All the flags are up. Now the club on the right is White's Club. When we can. That's White's Club on the right. That's the oldest one in this area. You see, it's a bit smart in the chandeliers and things like that. Now, we're not going to go along it because the traffic, as you can see, is horrendous. But if you were to go to the right, we'll take you to Piccadilly Circus and Leicester Square. Now, guys, I always hear, like, when you guys arrive, you always go to Piccadilly Circus and Leicester Square to go out in the evenings. It's really a bit like if you live in New York going out to Times Square. It's not a tourist, it's a tourist place, not where locals go. You know, the area to go out, have you been out much in your area? Shoreditch, you know, Brick Lane and that, that's the best place to be. Yeah, really, you know, one of the coolest places in London there at the moment. It's brilliant. Anyway, this building on the left is the Ritz Hotel. I don't know if you've heard the expression, putting on the Ritz. Died, they couldn't bury everybody individually, so they just dug pits around the city and shoved the bodies in. And they don't dig up the soil and plant nice rose bushes and things like that because the germs, they reckon the germs could still be active. Now, when you were much younger, you may have sung a song which goes, ring-a-ring-a-roses, pocket full of posies. Now, next line, forget your old ashes to ashes, don't ever sing that again, because what you should sing next is, achoo, achoo, as if you were all of that car's about to burst into flames. How exciting. Anyway, it's achoo, achoo, as if you were sneezing. Because that song